what if the traveler's sibling isn't who we think? What if the mysterious Rhine-Daughter, the extraordinary alchemist and mother of Durin and Albedo, is actually part of the same lineage? This is Princess Farron, and after playing Genshin's Archon Quest of version 5.6, this idea sprung to mind. So let's explore how Rhine-Daughter and the siblings could be related. First of all, who is Rhine-Daughter according to what was already revealed in the game? She is an alchemist from Khaenri'ah, known as Gold, due to her achievement of both knowledge and alchemical prowess. And as we know, one of the main goals of alchemy is to transmute metal into gold. In the book collection, Breeze Amidst the Forest, we learn that when the Eclipse Dynasty fell, the second and last dynasty of Khaenri'ah, which lasted until 500 years ago when the Cataclysm ravaged Teyvat and caused the fall of Khaenri'ah, Rhine-Daughter became corrupted by greed and ambition. Therefore, using the art of Kemia and creating Durin, subject to a previous iteration of Albedo created as part of the primordial human project, Albedo, Alinus, and an army of monsters, amongst which there were the Rifthounds, were also created by Rhine-Daughter. After the Cataclysm, Rhine-Daughter eventually appeared unscathed and later found and devoured Naberius, becoming one with the Shade of Life, as Albedo mentioned on the Archon Quest of 5.6. Rhine-Daughter is also one of the 5 sinners of Khaenri'ah and could possibly be one of the inciting reasons for Celestia's punishment. Though we cannot be certain of that, because there is no concrete proof as to whether Rhine-Daughter's practice of the art of Kemia and her monsters attracted the attention of the gods and Celestia, or whether those creations were controlled by said gods as a way of causing even more chaos and Teyvat. And of course, she is also part of the Exum Circle, the coven of witches founded by Alice, Klee's mother, and a sort of an anti-figure for Albedo. As for the Traveler and their sibling, what do we know about them? So we know that they came from another world, and they apparently have powers beyond Teyvat's understanding. And although the Traveler is considered a descender, as per the information contained in Irminsul, their sibling is not, which causes one to speculate if they truly are siblings, real siblings. Supposedly after their world was destroyed, the twins traveled through the universe until they crashed and landed in Teyvat. The sibling was the first one to awaken, and they went to Khaenri'ah, where they eventually were appointed as the heir to the throne of Khaenri'ah, and were subjected to a ritual so they could become a vessel for abyssal power. And just a side note, the Traveler is also able to contain abyssal power, as we have seen them absorb it out of the Valen's tears, and more recently in Natlan as well, when they tried to save Atia. Getting back on track, after the sibling became a vessel for the abyssal energy, the abyssal monsters fled from Khaenri'ah and spread throughout Teyvat, adding to the widespread chaos. The same monsters that were supposedly created or transformed into such by the hands of Rhine-Daughter. And so it is, or it was, that the sibling watched the destruction of Khaenri'ah by divine powers without being able to directly interfere. That's when they decided to return to the crash site to wake up their twin and show them the utter destruction. And what ensues is the opening scene of the game, when we see both twins fighting the unknown god, the twin being sealed in a cube in a similar fashion to what we saw when Mavlika shattered the sky in Atlan. We saw those red cubes, and the Traveler being subdued and stripped of their powers. As we can see, the twins' origins remain shrouded by a veil of mystery that sometimes lifts just enough, allowing us to take glimpses at the truth behind it and speculate about most of their lore. However, what is very clear is that both of them are deeply tied to major events that have shaped Teyvat's past and present, and will continue to do so in regard to its future. Now that we have briefly reviewed the roles that Rhine-Daughter and the siblings have played so far, it's time to see how they can be connected. Firstly, I would like to remember that Rhine-Daughter and the Dreams operate outside of Tevat's norms, which is something she has in common with the siblings who are not from Tevat, according to all the information the game has given us so far. I add this because there can always be major plot twists ahead in the story, so we never know. But it's not just Rhine's modus operandi that is different. She is also described as being a flower from another world, and she also goes by the name Gold. Two important details about the siblings are that they are not from Tevat, and that everyone refers to them as Golden. The characters could refer to them as being blonde, but no, they always use the expressions gold and golden to refer to the both of them. For example, the Aranara always use the expression Golden Nara to refer to the sibling who helped them 500 years ago. Moreover, there's the fact that the sibling wears a flower in the hair, the Intevat, which is the flower of Khaenri'ah, a flower that grows also in the twins' homeland and that is present in abundance at the Sea of Flowers at the end, a location that's actually been featured in official art of the game. Rhine-Daughter is also proficient, as we talked a little bit about it before, in the art of Kemia, employing that forbidden alchemy to create a variety of creatures as part of her primordial human project, which we mentioned before, in order to create life, because the art of Kemia's main purpose was to create life. As an underground nation, Khaenri'ah suffered with the existence of a lack of natural fauna. However, we don't know how this art came to be or what practices it consists. Maybe its origins lie outside of Tevat. This can be true, especially if you take into consideration the description of the Festering Desire Sword, whose blade was coated with a powder made from Durin's remains. The words translate precisely the memory that Durin has of his mother, of Rhine-Daughter. And we should pay close attention to the first few sentences. Unborn life, unfulfilled wishes, tragic dreams at the edge of the universal darkness that could never come true, indwell my body and descend onto my world. These lines almost seem to imply that Gold is invoking a power hailing from beyond Tevat, from the universe, in order to make use of her body and transmute that power and other elements into something different in this world. And how could Gold, Rhine-Daughter, be in the possession of such knowledge if she wasn't from somewhere beyond in the universe as well? Just speculation, of course, but I believe it makes sense. If that's the case, maybe she could be descended from a traveler race from the sibling homeworld, and maybe she wanted to recreate a little bit of that world, in Tevat, more specifically in Khaenri'ah, where she lived. Do you think this could be possible? Let me know what you think in the comment section, if you so wish to do. Moreover, the description of the weapon, a sensitive material chunk of aerosiderite, mentions that when Khaenri'ah was destroyed, a great sinner created endless monsters with dark, alien blood flowing in their veins. They were mutated life forms whose mutations were caused by powers from beyond this world. Once again, we have the emphasis on the alien aspect of Gold's powers and creations. Anyway, taking these ideas a little further or maybe a little more specific, maybe Gold shares the same bloodline as the Golden siblings. Now, that might give rise to some interesting developments in Genshin Impact's story, in my opinion. Besides this possible connection, as part of the same bloodline, or at least as having the same outside origin, there's also the Conrian link. At the time of the cataclysm, both Rhine-Daughter and the sibling were in Conria and witnessed its fall. As we've mentioned previously, Gold was working as a researcher and alchemist, focused on creating life, while the sibling was the prince or princess of the Abyss Order, working hard alongside them in order to defy fate, to defy the heavenly principles. It was the rebellious actions of the Conrians that most likely caused the ire of Celestia, thus ushering in the disaster that befell the world. Perhaps that was why Rhine-Daughter unleashed the abyssal creatures like the Rift Hounds, enduring as well. And when that didn't work, the other option was to create a vessel capable of absorbing unlimited, or in my opinion, a great deal, of abyssal power, to release it when the time to face off against Celestia comes. And that's why the sibling ended up as that very same vessel. And that fact reminds me of Durin's memories about Rhine-Daughter again. Indwell my body and descend onto this world. Could this mean that the ritual that the sibling underwent was actually her own creation by the hand of Rhine-Daughter, so that she could become a vessel for the abyssal power? And maybe that's the reason why she was also able to absorb the heart of Naberius. Just a thought. Maybe it simply means that the sibling was transformed to be able to perform that function, and simply that. We can also establish an interesting connection to Albedo. Albedo was the perfect subject of Rhine-Daughter's primordial human project. She classified him as Cretaceous, teaching him everything she knew. When she left him, she tasked him to find the truth and meaning of this world. I believe this mission entrusted to Albedo mirrors the traveler's own quest of finding his sibling, which pretty much is equivalent to finding their own identity and role in the events taking place in Teyvat. Let's not forget that the sibling also said that their twin should continue their journey to realize the truth of this world. As you can see, both Rhine-Daughter and the sibling use similar words to convey the exact same message to Albedo and the traveler, respectively. Is it coincidence? Or a hint? What do you think? Perhaps Gold's real message to Albedo didn't refer to him living his own life, but to actually finding the truth about his other relative, and by this I mean the traveler. And to support this hypothesis, we have the line, Chalk pursues Gold. Chalk being the Chalk Prince Albedo, and Gold could mean the Golden Traveler. Besides that, Albedo is referred to as a synthetic human. Perhaps he was actually created and modeled after Rhine-Daughter's own people. It's not necessary to look twice to see his design is similar to the traveler's. But this is just a thought. So, what could all of this mean? Could Rhine-Daughter be the traveler's ancestor, or even the original prototype of the traveler's kind? Could this explain why the Abyss sibling disappeared from Teyvat? Could Rhine-Daughter's knowledge be the reason the Abyss opposed Celestia, and why the traveler's powers were restrained by the unknown god? Could Rhine-Daughter actually be the Abyss twin that eventually created their sibling as a way to defeat Celestia, whose eyes were still fixed on the remnants of Conria? Then we have these words in Dainsleif's official introduction. The original calamity had been overturned, yet the island in the sky set the earth to burn. Chalk pursues Gold, and this time inopportune. The eclipse is swallowed by the crimson moon. The future must atone for bygone mistakes, as the bond familiar falters and breaks. Of the same blood, elders and the youth, such is the cycle of the world in truth. This would fit down to a T if this theory proved to be true. It alludes to Celestia wreaking havoc on Teyvat, to the alchemists, Rhine-Daughter, other researchers from Khaenri'ah and Albedo, pursuit of gold, and to how the future, or the present after 500 years have passed, must atone for previous mistakes, as the bond familiar breaks the separation of Rhine-Daughter and her creations. Such is the cycle of the world, the samsara that so far has retained Teyvat. The fact that we don't know everything yet, that is the truth, but the connection between Rhine-Daughter and the Traveler may run deeper than we think. As far as I'm concerned, having some loose ends makes it all more interesting because we get to speculate and try to connect the dots in every possible, plausible way. Anyway, what do you think? Could Rhine-Daughter be more than just an alchemist? Is she related to Lumine and Aether, or something even more powerful? Is she actually the real Traveler who created a synthetic twin to roam Teyvat in her stead? Tell me your thoughts. If you like this video, drop a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. I also cover love and deep space in case anyone is interested. This is Princess Farron signing out. Take care and good gaming. Bye bye.